Hey guys, Antonio here, Hands Movements, going through our shoulder series for pain and performance. Talking about ring dips today. Much more challenging topic because it's a much more challenging movement and depends on person, depends on what you're doing. A lot of different factors come into play. Same concepts we want to try to carry over and apply here though is trying to achieve as much joint centration as we can when doing the movement. Okay, so we talked about sitting in the middle. Push-ups, pressing makes a lot more sense. In this position though, because I mean, I'm sure many of you are thinking, you're like, well, when I dip, my elbow's coming back before me, my shoulder's gonna naturally like come forward, right? There is a difference between shoulder coming forward as that elbow comes back, normal kind of fulcrum point, right? As this comes up, this is naturally gonna hopefully kind of just spin around with that axis of rotation going straight into the arm. Now, we'll see if we can kind of see it here, right? It's my running motion, right? If I'm doing this motion, if I'm dipping back, we're looking at that shoulder joint, right? Does this look different than that? Maybe not much. You can kind of see this front side though. See how it's in front of my body there, right? There's that type of dip where I'm kind of rounded and see that one forward versus this type of dip, right? It's subtle. It's a subtle change. And typically it's more of like an internal feeling of what you feel, right? In that first one where we're dumped, most people are going to feel a lot of like strain and pull right along that front side. Bicep tendon comes up through here. You got this little groove. It attaches to the top of the labrum and the top of the gleno side of the joint. As I'm doing that, that puts a lot of stress there along with pec and anterior delt. If I'm dumped forward and I'm just hanging on that there, that's a lot of weight bearing force on a kind of passive system. So I want to make sure if I'm in that position, I'm actually kind of tucked here and I'm strong. So I'm actually using, again, the back side to relieve pressure off the front side. Now, much of this is going to depend on strength, right? If we don't have adequate strength yet, it's going to be very hard to do it, right? If we can't even like stabilize ourselves very well here, how are we going to stabilize ourselves dynamically as we're going up and down in this dip? Okay, so that's one thing we really got to consider. And then the other thing is even more explosively like our muscle ups, right? As we're coming through that transition and we're catching ourselves, if we're loose and soft, we're just going to end up doing repetition and repetition of us just collapsing in. It's a lot of stress on the front of that shoulder. Okay, so you got to start at the bottom, wake yourself up. So in this position, just like we talked about the push-ups and the barbell stuff, we're going to actually pull ourselves down to the ring. So I'm supported here, so it's a little easier to kind of demo. As I'm up here and I'm doing my dip, as I start to come down, I'm keeping those rings tucked in tight, and I'm actually like trying to like reverse dip or reverse row down. So my back is really activated here. Now what I like doing too is having those legs kind of in front of you, because that keeps you in a little bit more of an upright position, right? And I'm not, keeps me in a little bit more of an upright core engaged position. If my feet are behind me, right, I'm more likely to kind of do like that hyperextension. As I hyperextend, it's actually going to actually dip me forward a little bit more in relation to the shoulder, okay? So we want to keep that nice and tight. We're going to lower, keep everything tight. I got my back activated. I got my front side activated with my knees up, and then I'm going to press up and open. And then again, I'm going to lower. This is really tight and activated. Same with up here, right? I'm not just using this part of my back. I'm coming all the way up here. Pulling myself in, rings are tight. Keeping front side activated, pressing out. Okay, so much harder if you're having pain when doing ring dips, muscle ups, or something like that. I would suggest, honestly, first coming and getting evaluated, because there's probably maybe some more stuff going on. And then just making sure you're developing the baseline strength for doing that type of stuff. Next is we're going to be talking about some pulling motions. Okay, so same thing. Now we're just going to switch and go the other way and start